Hail, brethren. Hail. Black Angus here. About to review Lonestar, Heart of the Hero, #1 by Mike S. Mogwai of Blacklist Universe. This is one I've been meaning to review for a while. I didn't back it, besides your boy Zach, with Jawbreakers getting hyped up by Ethan, and Cyberfrog, of course. I didn't really back anything that first year of Comicsgate, at least the awareness of Comicsgate from YouTube. I thought about backing this, I just didn't have the time, or I wasn't really following Mike Miller at the time. This is before he really learned who he was, Christian SJW. But yeah, I didn't review this. I had someone on Twitter say, hey, I'm getting rid of this, I'm tired of Comicsgate for whatever reason. And they said, hey, I'm giving it away, does anyone want it? I'm like, hey, yeah, I've been wanting to read this, you know, it's been one of the big projects of Comicsgate. And I didn't review it because it's pretty bad. And I didn't want to hurt a fledgling Comicsgate at the time. But, you know, you've seen how he's repaid Comicsgate, so let's dig in. Now, I will say there's some things here that could be good, or, like, I'm not going to dog on the whole book. But overall, the assessment's not good. But we'll just look. This first page, it's really good, you know. And so you see, you got the credits. I'm not sure who the cover is, which cover this is, A, B, or C. But it's kind of off-putting. It doesn't really draw. Like, I would say the title draws more attention than the actual character. He almost kind of blends in. If you look really close, there's this like white aura. You know, maybe he's a soul or something, a spirit. Besides that, he doesn't quite really stand out. Like, you know, he's got a different color scheme because these are all the same guys essentially in a gang uniform. And he gives little details here, like in the trash, there's Cyberfrog in the corner in this alley. I don't know if that was meant to be a cutesy Easter egg for Comicsgate, or if it was meant to be a diss that early on. But interesting little detail I picked up on. Let's get to that first page. God damn it. So this first page is really good, actually. I really like this. This really sets the tone for what could be a really good story. So he starts out saying, I remember the world a little clearer than most. The air is different now, thicker, full of a seething, misdirected discontent, anger, resentment, entitlement. It's a world of spoiled children raised by spoiled children and raising little spoiled children of their own. It's getting harder and harder to tell the good guys from the bad. It's an amazing opening page, full splash page of Lonestar. You see him in his suit. He's got the American flag. He's got this kind of Judge Dredd look with his goggles. The writing here, this narration from the character, it feels like I don't know, like an Elseworld Frank Miller, or there's someone else. Maybe Alan Moore, maybe, you know, Watchmen. It has a feeling of, you know, like Rorschach or something, or a Batman Elseworld story. And then instantly he undercuts it. He's like, wait, miscreants? And it turns out he's talking to a fucking pigeon, which is funny because Praetorian was the gay ops loose link in war campaign that got ousted. You know, around the Soylent witch trials and all that. But, you know, besides that little stupid, you know, thing you can extrapolate, overall, it's whatever. And then it quickly cuts to, he senses distress. He has a spider sense for crime fighting. So it's like, okay. But he's kind of explaining his motive, or, you know, how he works to a pigeon. It's just underwhelming after that really good first page. And he senses something, and then there's this black girl about to get, you know, raped and or killed by this gang. He's fucking with them. And he's very Captain American. And he's like, language, please. There's a lady present. They got this good full page of, you know, it's kind of chaotic, but that's kind of the point. He's fighting all of these guys, taking them out. And it's down to the last one, holding her at knife point. And this is really cool panel right here, where he's got the reflection in his goggles. This is something that he didn't keep consistent for Lonestar, his imagery. A lot of times he after this, he has where you can see like kind of Batman wide eyes. I think that's really dumb. I think it's cooler to have this kind of Judge Dredd you know, never being able to see into the soul through the eyes of the character. Yeah, he saves her, and then he ends up, he's like, I'm not the cops, I'm not gonna take you out and have handcuffs. He like breaks his hands, and then he like breaks his fucking arms higher up. Sorry for the gloss, the lighting. Yeah, then she's going to kill him with the gun off the ground. He stops her and says, like, that's not justice. You know, it's murder. And he senses something else, and he's like, who saved me? And he's like, they call me Lonestar. And so this is kind of, you know, like, we're meeting him. It's whatever. And then you go to, like, his base of operations, this apartment with other dead soldiers of different eras. You know, he's from 41. This guy's from Korea, Vietnam, Beirut, Afghanistan. This guy's from Cambodia, so he's from like Black Ops, you assume, of like the end of the Vietnam War. And this one guy, I think it's Killjoy, he can like mimic characters. So he's mocking them and stuff. And here's another Easter egg, Malin's Tears. I don't know the history of how long their animosity's been around, or if this was meant to be a jab. Malin was like, haha, but this is really like a diss at him. But it's funny looking back, knowing the age of this book. Yeah, he's going to bed, and he has like this quick flashback, I guess, trying to sleep. He can't sleep, who knows. But it's like World War II, someone's bursting through this, you know, alien looking ship. I guess you're supposed to assume that one of these guys is Lonestar. I'm not sure, you know. And then he's been going to this diner for like 6 months, just getting coffee and gawking at this girl. And she's the one playing, you know, assertive, to say the least, trying to like get him to like, hey, buy in, you know, ask me out, take me out somewhere, you know. She's already like falling head over heels for him. This is a problem that you'll see throughout this book. This girl has no agency, despite just wanting to be with this man. It's alright that there's an attraction on one side, but it just feels like this is a driving motive repeatedly, this character and her plight, potentially. And it never feels earned. So it's like you're trying to go for, like, you know, it's Captain America or Spider-Man and, you know, Mary Jane, whatever, this love interest dynamic, but it never feels earned. And it feels like, you know, what was the impetus for him to like her besides being pretty, to keep sticking around? Because it seems like he just, from the dialogue, he just gawks at her. There's not really chemistry built. But then she's like, it's our 6-month anniversary of you gawking at me. And it's just like, what? I don't know. You know, your mileage may vary, as Comic Tropes says. And then there's this guy, he's like, you know, God bless you, brother. Here's a gift card for food. And it's just, oh, gee golly. Then he comes home and they know about this girl. Killjoy's acting like Jessica Rabbit. And then I like this hothead guy. He's saying, yeah, you could give her that 10-minute relationship for her. And then he's just like, no words, just like knocks him out. He's triggered, like, that's a lady, you know? And it's just so ridiculously old-fashioned. It's never believable. All right, and so then you cut, you know, he's just dealt with a gang for, like, on the streets, routine thing, apparently. And then he's with his crew who, you know, apparently dead soldiers, the unknown soldiers, and they got some intel of, like, hey, we're going to go here. There's vampires. You know, you have to be ready for other shit. And so they're loading up, and then you get this, you know, more bashing over the head with God. It's like, let's all pray, you know. And it seems unclear if a couple of these guys don't care about God or not, because there's only a couple amens out of 5 characters. So, I don't know. And so they're going through these tunnels. I guess they're trying to go vampire hunting, and they come across this little girl once they get through, and he's trying to check for a bite on her neck, if she's turned or not. He doesn't see a mark. He's like, okay, she's good. Which, it should be suspicious that a little girl in a dress in, like, you know, normal girly shoes is in a sewer. But yeah, he thinks nothing else is going to take her. And then, of course, she's a vampire. She's have to attack. And Hothead just fucking nukes her in the chest with his rifle, right over the head of, what's his name, Lonestar. That's not necessarily the problem, these are all like special forces or whatever you assume, but he just kills the girl. And like at first, this seems to be a good setup that like, oh, there's like this collateral damage. There's these monsters that, they can't help it because they're children born that way. But then, it just cuts to like they're getting swarmed by vampires, and then it cuts to like, an earlier time, I guess. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be Lonestar or who it is. But it's like, your exile's in the end, the Lord has need of you. What? Never comes back up again. I don't know who it's supposed to be, but they're getting swarmed by vampires, and Lonestar ends up taking on this one dude and fucking with him. I guess he's got like I'm not sure what metal, if any, he's supposed to fuck with vampires, but it has like some harmful effect besides just stabbing the guy, and so he takes care of him pretty quickly. That's what's weird too, is like they're vampires, and they're like, let me go back, like they're on the ceiling and stuff in this tunnel, and so you think they're like superhuman. I know these are like undead soldiers somehow alive, which I'll address in a minute, but it's like he's just, there's no sense of like stakes or limitations for either side, so you never know like who's really at stake or not. So that's a problem. And he takes care of him, sticks him to the wall with some rebar. And then Brando, he's like caught in the swarm, and they yank his head off. And honestly, you don't know anything about the vampires. Like they say, hey, there's a vampire nest, or there's potential harm, problems. We're gonna scout it out. But if anything, these vampires, like, you've invaded their home. You don't have any impetus to justify hating these supposed villainous clan. So that's another problem with this book. And I assume there's going to be more built on further you go with the series, but that's a problem for me, is like, why should I root for these guys that I don't even know why they have their powers? Why is there a problem with vampires necessarily? You're not seeing them harm the world. There's a Mexican problem with the gangs in the streets, but you're not seeing a vampire problem. You're just seeing a home invasion by these guys, disrupting them and slaughtering their children. So yeah, it's never earned for me thus far. And then they're clearing the area, taking their dead away, go back to base. And then like the next day, after this horrible event, having his friend's head ripped off, he's already, I guess, undead, so he's dead again. I don't know how it's supposed to work. That's another thing I just thought of. But he's like trying to court, I don't even know, does she have a name? Angel. Her name's Angel. He's trying to court her, so he's got roses and chocolate. And she's with the black purple-haired friend. And she's like instantly got a problem with this guy. And how he courts and whatnot. She thinks he's a stalker. He doesn't watch TV. He's hanging out, waiting for her to come out. And it's kind of weird, because he's like, well, I didn't know which bell was yours, so I didn't ring them. I didn't want to wake someone. But it seems like, it says the next morning, but it seems like it's pretty well lit. Everyone should be up and at them. Yeah, it's just a nitpick, but, and, so this one, she's like, oh, what's your job? And then he like, kind of changes the topic. And she's just like snooty with this guy off the bat. And then she's like, oh no, this guy, he wears the flag on his shoulder like a badge. He literally says he's a stalker and a misogynist. No way. I will not let you get involved with this. It's just, this chick has no agency about herself, and she can just get, dragged away. And the dialogue's just, I know I think it's supposed to be in California. I can't remember where it's supposed to be, but it just seems so ridiculous. And then there's like these pamphlets being passed out to, you don't know who, about like this revolution or something. I'm not sure how long Antifa's going on. I don't remember them when this book was coming out, so maybe Miller's more in tune. but there's like an SJW meeting. There's this panel of just like nothing but SJW kind of physical tropes. There's like, you know, this blue hair soy boy. There's a bunch of like dweebs and, you know, a plump feminist, you assume, you know, lesbian haircut. It's just so obvious, but then, you know, the vampire ends up being here, and he kind of takes charge, and you know, he's going to lead this revolution. Then it cuts 2:30 in the morning, and Angel's leaving. It seems Lonestar's like ditched her when he's always there, and she's about to get raped by the this homeless guy you met earlier in the book, and luckily Lonestar's there to take it. And here's, you know, the whites of his eyes. It's not a horrible effect, but you know, it's like, I think it looks cooler if he doesn't have the eyes showing at all. Makes him a little more intimidating. But he takes him out and even calls him bastard. Language, Lonestar. And he saves her, and she's like so distraught, and like, what if you weren't here, and this and that. And then she's like, oh, you're Lonestar. You couldn't tell me you're Lonestar? And you never get a scope of like who knows about these guys, just be it their secret, their superhero identities on the streets. Like, there's no, and then it ends, and it's like, my name is Lonestar. I'm not just a hero. Or, I'm not a hero. I'm just doing what has to be done, even when it hurts. And it's like, you know, you can't be with her. And then the last bit is, you know, the vampire, they're going to buy weapons on the dark web. And that's the end of the issue. There's just this random guy here tied up. I don't know if, because it doesn't look like it's like a blood donation or something, you know. It looks like they're setting up shop in an office. But this guy's just tied up, and I guess you're supposed to assume that's where the blood is from, in his chalice. And I didn't even read this. This just looks like a sad attempt at Star Trek Fantastic Four or something. The Atomic Family. You know, it isn't bad. It's just, I don't know. Doesn't look appealing. And there's, you know, the Lonestar Squadron for 3 pages, and then a sneak peek like look of Soul of the Soldier. And I just, you know, I can't help but notice how hot Miller can draw some of these women with, you know, how religious he is. Seems kind of self-defeating. He's, you know, he's tempting me. You know, how does he get so good drawing women like this if he doesn't know their physique? And he's not married to me. I don't know. It's just awful. There's some things I like. That first page is really good, or it's solid throughout. He's not a bad artist. I actually been reading some Zenoscope old stuff and seeing he's in a lot of covers for him, so that's cool for Van Helsing. But yeah, I don't even know what I'd grade this. Maybe I'll put in the description, but definitely would not buy a sequel. If someone wanted to give it to me to laugh at, maybe I'd read it. Definitely glad I didn't pay money for this. There's some good concepts, though. It's just nothing feels developed or earned. It's just, yeah, run with it. And it's just too much of that. You know, if it was like one thing, if it was just the girlfriend aspect potential with Angel, or if it was just kind of the oversight of the vampire issue, or if it was just not really having any explanation for these dead soldiers who have like this core or whatever, that'd be fine. But it's like all of it, you know, these are like key things for the story building. So yeah, that's my review of Lonestar. What did you think? Are you a fan? Have you backed the sequel? Yeah, let's talk in the comments.